Them, I would have never met Lionel Richie.
The musician and philanthropist who grew up in Tuskegee, Alabama, now calls L.A. home and said he was honored to receive the city's Living Legend Award. While Richie did not perform, he did sing along as local musicians, including Eric Benet and Shantae Moore, paid tribute by belting out his songs. Inside City Hall, Richie talked about the importance of his award, and he had a message for critics who say there's no longer a need for Black History Month.
If you go and look at our history books today, it still leaves us out in terms of the total story. If you want to learn Black history, you have to take a separate course in Black history, opposed to making it the main part of American history. So I think without a doubt we should continue to have Black History Month, week, day, forever.
Richie, who over the span of his career has won 4 Grammys and an Oscar, was also singled out by Mayor Eric Garcetti.
Mr. Richie, on behalf of the City of Los Angeles, it is truly my honor to present you with the Living Legend Award. Come on forward.
Council members then recognized 3 other prominent African Americans, including Cal State Dominguez Hills President Willie Hagan, California Board of Equalization Chairman Jerome Horton, and California Appeal Court Justice Audrey Collins.
I couldn't accept this award during African American Heritage Month without acknowledging my ancestors whose sacrifices brought me to this point.
Collins went on to say her grandfather was a slave who could not read, but she excelled because her parents instilled in her the value of education. At City Hall, I'm Anita Bennett for LA This Week.
Justice Collins was appointed to the Court of Appeals by Governor Jerry Brown in 2014. Well, is increased construction of Hollywood high-rises helping or hurting the poor? Councilman Mitch O'Farrell weighs in at his yearly State of Hollywood address. Gil Reyes has more from Taglian Cultural Center. Gil.
Well, that is right, Yana. Councilman Mitch O'Farrell's annual State of Hollywood address inside this crowded ballroom touched on a number of topics, including homelessness, public safety, and the very controversial topic of development in his Tinseltown district.
We should think big, dream big.
A standing ovation for Hollywood councilman and big supporter of local development, Mitch O'Farrell. Speaking to business leaders, O'Farrell opposes plans that could stop construction in Hollywood.
This ballot measure would be a direct threat on the production of affordable housing.
He's referring to a proposed ballot initiative led by Michael Weinstein, his AIDS Healthcare Foundation, and the group Coalition to Preserve LA. They accused the city of breaking zoning laws in order to speed up construction of area high-rises, including 2 planned skyscrapers to be built behind the Hollywood Palladium. Some say these projects only benefit rich developers, while squeezing out longtime residents who can't afford to live in these new buildings. Weinstein's proposed ballot measure could delay construction for years, but O'Farrell says that will end up hurting everyone.
So when people who are promoting this talk about, well, it's only luxury housing and we're chasing away the middle class, the reverse is true. The reason housing is getting more costly over the city is because there's a shortage. So market rate housing prices will come down when the production goes up.
And O'Farrell says affordable housing for the poor will be included in these projects. Supporters also say increased development will create much needed construction jobs.
The developers invest in the community, and it's that investment that improves the community. When I came, Hollywood was practically all parking lots. Now we're filling in those parking lots with exciting projects that upgrade the community.
As of deadline time for this story, the Coalition to Preserve LA was trying to gather enough signatures to put their measure to delay construction on the ballot. Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
The city has set a goal of building 100,000 new housing units by 2021. Well, a new LA app could transform the way we use transportation. Ana Marcos was there as city leaders unveiled the new Go LA app at the city's Automated Traffic and Control System Center.
Whether you use a bike, a car, a bus, train, or rideshare service, LA now becomes the first city to make getting around town as easy as clicking a button on your smartphone. City leaders showed off the Go LA app, a team effort by the city and Xerox to give Angelenos more ride choices.
Go LA is your brain. It does all the thinking for you. It calculates different routes available and lists them by sooner, cheaper, and greener. And you can see not only the length of your trip, but also the price, the number of calories burned, and how much carbon dioxide is released into the air.
Angelenos can download the Go LA app from the Apple or Google Play Store.
When I was using this app, I was able to plan my trip from my couch before I left the house.
Transportation is a huge contributor, somewhere between 35 and 40% of greenhouse gas emissions. And so the more we can make it easier to make for people to make a sustainable choice, overall, the better it is.
And coming soon, within weeks, the app's creators promise a new feature that will allow you to book any ride and pay for it right at your fingertips.
You go out on the street and you don't know that there's a bus about to arrive around the corner. You don't know if there's a zip car in the garage. You don't know if what it will cost on taxi versus Uber versus Lyft.
But now the Go LA app will put you on the map, wherever you are, wherever you want to go, and whichever way you want to get there with just one smart click on your mobile device. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
Now, another feature coming soon to the Go LA app is a partnership with the Waze app, which will give consumers real-time information on accidents and other road delays as they happen. Well, the LAPD and LAFD go head-to-head for a good cause. A new LAPD facility on the west side brings the whole community together, and Ted Watkins Park in Watts gets a few upgrades. All these stories and more in City Beat. The Los Angeles Police and Fire Departments recently competed in the 9th annual Battle of the Badges Blood Drive. LAPD, LAFD, and other law enforcement agencies competed in a friendly contest to see which department can donate the most blood for the American Red Cross of Southern California. In the end, officials say it doesn't matter who comes out ahead.
I think it's a win-win situation for everybody if we all just donate.
Officials and community members recently gathered for the opening ceremony of the LAPD Pacific Community Center on Culver Boulevard. The 5,000-square-foot center includes more than 50 workstations, community meeting rooms, and a children's library. The facility will serve as LAPD offices as well as a gathering space for youth programs and community events.
It is a sweet, beautiful, state-of-the-art office space for dozens of cops.
It signifies a vision, a dream, partnerships, and the community coming together to make something possible.
Cal State Northridge recently hosted its 19th annual High School Art Invitational, where students and faculty from 38 high schools across the San Fernando Valley showcased their artwork. Each school submitted 6 different works, including paintings, ceramics, sculptures, video, and animation.
And it's nice for the students to compare themselves and their artwork with other student artists here in the Valley.
Councilmember Joe Buscaino hosted a ribbon-cutting ceremony to celebrate the 103rd Street Streetscape Improvement Project at Ted Watkins Park in Watts. The enhancements include landscaped median islands, a gateway monument, access ramps, benches, bicycle racks, decorative crosswalks, and sidewalk improvements. The Streetscape project was made possible thanks to the Department of Cultural Affairs and the Bureau of Street Services.
This is a year we've reflected on the 50-year anniversary of the Watts Rebellion. There's no better time than now to see this kind of positive change influence here in Watts.
It's an alarming statistic. 25% of adults in Los Angeles don't have a high school diploma, but the LA City Library is helping with free online courses. Gil Reyes has more from the program's first ever graduating class.
I feel great. I'm so excited and happy that I finished.
Holly Maidens, a single mom, had dropped out of high school years ago to care for 2 sons and a mom suffering from cancer. Today, she finally earns her diploma through the LA City Library's Career Online High School. Maidens is now enrolled at Pierce College, pursuing a career as a social worker.
Because of this program gave me the confidence to go to Pierce and be able to pursue my dreams, as before I didn't.
The LA City Library graduates its first ever online high school class. Around 30 students, all between the ages of 20 and 50. They completed courses within a year and a half on average, oftentimes in between jobs.
They do it online, they do it at their own pace, they do it with assistance and help from our library staff, and it's just been an incredibly successful program that now libraries across the country are now replicating.
LA City librarian John Sabo says 49 other public libraries nationwide are following LA's lead by establishing their own online high schools. But LA's public library was the first.
And this library system was there at the right moment to just be the enabler of your hard work. We opened the door up, but you today have walked through that, through the hard work that you've done.
In my case, I'm from Mexico City. Back there, I had the chance to complete high school. But here, when I wanted to go to college, I couldn't, because I couldn't transfer my credits. So this program was the perfect fit for me, because now I can go to college.
And yes, the online courses are free. From graduation ceremonies at downtown Central Library, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
Now, you must be at least 19 years old to apply for Career Online High School. Register at lapl.org. Well, Councilman Jose Huizar's Bringing Back Broadway initiative just entered its 9th year, and Angelinos from across the city came together to celebrate. Rich Samuels has more.
I don't know, it just feels like a good vibe.
Young and old, families and friends, artists and performers, everyone was there for a night on Broadway.
It's about arts, culture, and bringing back these beautiful theaters.
Bringing Back Broadway is Huizar's 10-year plan to revitalize the Grand Theaters and legendary business district that was once the center of business and tourism for Los Angeles.
You know, there's no place like Broadway anywhere else in the world where there are 12 historic theaters on one block, one quarter. Next to New York, you probably can't find this anywhere else.
Night on Broadway opens up many of the historic theaters for spectacular performances and reintroduces festival goers to the vaudeville and movie palaces that stood vacant for years.
And then we went to the $1 Million Theater and we saw a cabaret show, and that was really fun.
Inside and out, the choices for entertainment was seemingly endless, from a silent disco to artists at work to something called chess boxing.
We saw a Tesla that had it was like a cop car, but like instead it was a Tesla.
It's very diverse here, different ages, different colors, different races. It's amazing. I think it's very beautiful, you know.
If these incredible crowds are any indication, I think we can safely say Broadway is back. This is Rich Samuels for LA This Week.
Well, if you missed this year's Night on Broadway, you can start counting down for next year's edition, which takes place on January 28th, 2017. Well, it's time to play ball as the LA Clippers kick off their youth program meant to keep inner city kids off the streets and on the basketball court. Wearing brand new professional basketball uniforms, these kids are playing a friendly game of ball, being coached by former and current Clippers players. The Clippers, YMCA of Metropolitan Los Angeles, and the city's Department of Recreation and Parks teamed up recently to tip off the 16th annual Junior Clippers program.
Events like this that can keep them for a few months out of the streets for some of them, or to help them with their basketball, to get them involved in the basketball growing up. Some of them, probably going to make friends here for life. But it's good. It's good to have activities like that for kids.
The gym at the Los Angeles Center for Enriched Studies was filled with parents and family members watching their kids play in the annual tip-off event. The Junior Clippers program has grown from 750 participants in 2001 to nearly 24,000 kids in 2016, serving inner-city children between the ages of 5 to 15 from 11 LA recreation centers.
That's what the Clippers is all about, really inspiring great engagement and great outcomes for kids.
Kids have a chance to play competitive basketball, learn about cooperation, and how to work as a team. The goal of the program is to promote the fundamentals of basketball, integrity, sportsmanship, and athletics as an alternative to negative influences. LA City officials say the program has had a positive impact.
The community itself gets behind it, not just the kids, but the kids, the parents, the siblings, everybody who comes and participates. It's really something of recognition, ownership.
Recreation centers selected to participate in the program are from underserved communities in Los Angeles. The season runs from early January through the end of March, culminating with a championship tournament in early April. A largely hidden treasure in the banks of the LA River has just expanded its profile, not to mention its fitness options. Gil Reyes has more from a newly opened gymnastics center in Frogtown. Gil.
Yes, Yana, what's billed as one of the largest gymnastic facilities in the country is located here in the community of Frogtown, also known as the Elysian Valley. And what a location it is. We didn't see a lot of leapfrogging in Frogtown, but we did see a lot of flipping and tumbling. To the families we spoke to, it's enough to jump for joy. The club, a gymnastics fitness center, has made the leap into Frogtown.
I'm really excited because I grew up here. I grew up in this neighborhood. I have a daughter. She goes to Doris Place Elementary. Go Tigers. And we wanted to be here to support them on their ribbon-cutting ceremony.
After 8 years in Silver Lake, the center offering gymnastics for kids and adults moves into a much larger 40,000 square foot space. Enough room to add new dance and martial arts classes, also cardio equipment and a soon-to-be-built swimming pool.
Our real estate agent said, hey, there's a space over here in Elysian Valley, and then learned about Frogtown, and then found out that this space was right on the LA River, which is also adjacent to the bike path, walking path. So with that, we also want to branch out into a bike rental program. So not only can children do gymnastics when they're here working out, but their parents have something to do also.
I tell you, put a kid of any age, 3 years old or 30 years old, on a trampoline, and you watch them go. And before you know it, they have an amazing cardio workout without even knowing they were trying to work out.
Counts former high school gymnast and Elysian Valley Councilman Mitch O'Farrell as a big supporter of the multiple fitness options now being offered. He also supports area development.
We're opening restaurants in Elysian Valley. It's a very, very special neighborhood right here at the LA River. Less than 6,000 residents, but it is a residential community. So to see these businesses move in here is a really good sign.
Some longtime residents of the Elysian Valley are against the gentrification, fearing it will spoil Frogtown's hidden charm. As a gesture of goodwill, the club is offering memberships for half price to locals only.
There's always going to be change, and if you embrace change and you get the most out of the change, it's better for everyone.
In Frogtown, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
At 40,000 square feet, the club in Frogtown is also one of the largest gyms in Southern California. Well, time to lace up your running shoes for the Ultimate Fitness Challenge, a play that's perfect for the entire family, and a Golden Dragon Parade where East meets West. All this in this week's Things to Do. Get ready, get set, go to the LA Marathon. Runners from in and outside of Los Angeles will participate in this great challenge. Kicking off at Dodger Stadium, this annual parade of physical endurance and community spirit winds its way through 26 miles of LA, culminating at Ocean Avenue in Santa Monica. Dozens of bands will perform along the route for an especially spirited experience. Show your support for these athletes, and we wish all the runners good luck. For details on volunteer opportunities and more, visit lamarathon.com.
As a mom, I thought it was really especially touching.
Don't miss Man Covets Bird, a 24th Street Theater production. This unique love story for modern families is an irresistible mix of storytelling, live music, and animation. Perfect for Valentine's Day, it's a play that will also engage kids and deeply touch adults. Opening Valentine's Day at the 24th Street Theater. For more information, visit 24thstreet.org. One of LA's oldest traditions, The 117th annual Chinese New Year Parade and Festival kicks off in downtown's Chinatown. This celebration brings multi-stage acts from kung fu demos to traditional music acts. At this parade, East meets West as old meets new with food trucks, ping pong, a craft beer garden with local breweries. Family entertainment includes kid-friendly face painting, storytelling, and paper folding. The parade starts at Hill and Ord Streets and concludes at Broadway and Cesar Chavez on Saturday, February 13th from 1 to 3 p.m. For more information, visit LAGoldenDragonParade.com. And that's a look at some things to do. Well, that's going to do it for this edition. I'm Yana Kay, and from all of us here at LA This Week, thanks for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
Hello, I'm John Szabo, the city librarian. This Valentine's season, the Los Angeles Public Library is playing Cupid by reuniting you, your overdue books, and our library shelves. From February 1st through the 14th, return any overdue, undamaged Los Angeles Public Library materials to any of our 73 locations. We'll forgive your overdue fines, no questions asked. Best of all, you can start using your library card again. You'll have access to everything the library has to offer: ebooks, DVDs, streaming movies, music downloads, online classes, and so much more. Visit lapl.org/missingyou for details. Remember, nothing can keep us apart, not even late fees.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm an Iyengar yoga teacher here in Los Angeles, and you're watching LA City View, Channel 35, Our City, Our Channel. Namaste.
Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Blumenfield, Bono, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Fuentes, Harris, Dawson, Weezer, Correz, Krikorian, Martinez, O'Farrell, Price, Rue, Wesson. 12 members present and a quorum, Mr. President. Madam President, pardon me.
What's the first order of business?
Approval of the minutes.
Councilmember Harris Dawson moves and Mr. O'Farrell seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Mr. Rue moves and Mr. Koretz seconds. Next.
Madam President, the Department of Building and Safety recommends that items 1T, U, and AE be received and filed inasmuch as the liens have been paid in full, that item 1R be received and filed inasmuch as the initial fees have been paid and the late fees were rescinded, and that item 1AD be received and filed inasmuch as the property was determined to be an owner-occupied single-family dwelling and thus exempt from lien processing. Further, there's been requests from members to continue items 24 to March 2nd, 2016, and item 25 to April 12, 2016. Lastly, there have been requests to continue items 1E to March 15 and items 1F and 1N to February 24th.
Okay, without objection, that will be the order. And what's next?
Excuse me, Mr. Rue? 1U special?
April 4th.
1U special for Mr. Rue.
Number 24.
Mr. O'Farrell?
Thank you. Madam Chair, if we could continue item 24 to April 6th. Thank you.
Item 24.
April 6th.
Okay. Without objection.
Very good, Madam President. Items 1 through 25 are items noticed for public hearing.
Mr. Clerk, do we have any cards?
Yes, ma'am, we do. Items 1 and 2. 1, 2, and 23.
Okay, that will be called special for cards. Members, any specials? See none. On the remaining balance, let's close the public hearing and open the roll. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, what's next?
Madam President, items 26 through 41 are items for which public hearings have been held. A Planning and Land Use Management Committee report for item 26 has been circulated for Council's consideration, and there's been a request to hold items 29 and 30 for Councilmember Cedillo.
Okay. Members, any other specials?
Yes, Madam President.
Mr. Buscaino?
Madam President, we can hold item 33 for a verbal amendment, please.
33 for
Yes, thank you.
verbal amendment. Is that all? Any other specials? Seeing none. On the remaining items, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
What's next?
Items 42 through 51 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, without objection, those items are before us, members. Mr. Clerk, do we have any cards?
Madam President, we do. We have cards on items 42, 48, 49, 50, and 51.
Okay, members, any specials? See none. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the votes.
12 ayes.
What's next?
Madam President, that brings us to items 52 and 53. They're items scheduled for closed session. Would you like to hold them on the desk?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's hold item 52 and 53.
Madam President, that takes council back to presentations, item called special, or public comment for items not on council's agenda.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, we're going to move on to item 23.
Very good, Madam President. Item 23, called special for cards.
Okay, the first speaker is Sean. Good morning, Sean.
Yeah, good morning. Happy Ash Wednesday. I'm going to go get my ashes at 12:10 or late. Item 23, I'm kind of against this item.
Okay, thank you. Next speaker is Wayne Spindler, followed by Mr. Walsh.
No more liquor. No more liquor in Hollywood. Just last night, the Central Area Valley Planning Commission for Central LA, we talked about CD 13 and what's going on. Hollywood does not want any more booze on the drunken streets of Hollywood Boulevard. And it did not go through the proper channels. Every liquor license must be approved by John Walsh at HollywoodHighlands.org. But it was not. Representatives, Apex, LA, care of Margaret Taylor. And why does Margaret Taylor want to be here promoting drunkenness? Why do we need more booze on the liquor-laden Hollywood Boulevard? There's already enough booze. There's so much booze, you could propel every car in Van Nuys in Hollywood and propel it and fly it to the moon. There's so much alcohol in that goddamn area. No more liquor licenses on Hollywood Boulevard. No more liquor establishments in CD 13. Because CD 13 is ran by the cancer of Mitchell Farrell, the cancer of Hollywood. Even Zev Yaroslavsky talked about out-of-control behavior of Hollywood being ran over by developers. No to Apex LA, care of Margaret Taylor. And no more of these liquor licenses and drunk drivings and murders and killings over these drunken scumbags. There is no necessity for this piece of shit.
Next speaker is Mr. Walsh on item 23, sir. Good morning.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org or J. Walsh Confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems. I've lived in Hollywood since 1976. We're talking about, now why do we need a liquor license at alcohol sales at CVS Pharmacy at 6201 Hollywood Boulevard? Because if you don't, for convenience of the rapists and scumbags who rape women, come to my Twitter site and you'll see every single rape that's occurred. There are about 5 or 6 of them a week. In this general vicinity. I'm telling you right now that scumbags, we'll see what the vote is. Mr. Rue won because he said he was for the neighborhood. Well, we'll see right now who the fuck you really represent, Mr. Rue. HollywoodHighlands.org. Alcohol über alles.
That concludes cards on item 23. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Item passes. Let's move on to item 2.
That brings us to item 2, called Special for Cards.
Wayne Spindler, item number 2.
Yes, now we get to some good shit here. Item 2, the shipping container shit. This is absolutely horrible. Ocean Terminal Services being illegally fined $356,000. That's because the terrorist Buscaino is out there attacking the Ocean Terminal Services because the terrorist Buscaino will not allow businesses to be open in CD15. CD15 is being riddled with crime as the poor businesses are being run out of all of those neighboring cities and port areas. Stop the terrorism of Joe Buscaino and vote no on this lien and allow this company to use the money in the community to help open the jail in San Pedro.
That concludes cards on item 2. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Item passes. Mr. Clerk, let's move on to item 42.
Item 42, called special for cards.
Arnold Sachs. Mr. Sachs, are you here? Item 42, sir.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Arnold Sachs. And item 42 refers somehow or other to the Porter Ranch Lighting District. Porter Ranch Lighting District. What do you know about Porter Ranch? It's been in the news lately. What is that a gas? Will they be using methane gas to light the lights in the lighting district? $42,000. Look at the other costs involved in some of these other lighting districts. $900, $700. How did Porter Ranch get to be such a huge lighting district that would enable it to have a $42,000 assessment when it sits on the largest natural gas facility on the west of the Mississippi River? How did that happen? You know, you go to the Board of Supervisors and Mike Antonovich says the city council did the maneuvering. Can you believe that? That the city council, the imposing Los Angeles City Council, outmaneuvered Mike Antonovich to create this Porter Ranch development, all these different developments with these homeowner associations, and now you come up with a $42,000 assessment for lighting district. Something smells here. And it's not the methane at Porter Ranch. It's the politics. It's the land use. How did people get to live in Porter Ranch on the largest facility, underground? You know what they said? 18 million cubic square feet of methane gas in Porter Ranch.
He is
you
not
have a
talking about the lighting district.
You have a lighting district that's going to cost the people $42,000. Their homes just went in the toilet, but you're going to charge them $42,000 in assessment. Well done.
That concludes cards on item 42. Mr. Clerk, let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Item passes. The next item is item 49.
49, called special for cards.
Patricia McAllister, item 49.
Okay, here I'm looking at this Children's Bureau. It says that it wants to amend the Children's Bureau of Southern California to continue the operation when it was named Family Source Center Program. Well, the area where it's located is where most of the illegal aliens are, which is in Cedilio's district, and he gets over 500 affordable units coming up soon that was approved by this council. Because they are children, I think that this should go through. I don't know why you're stopping this. I mean, whether they're legal children or not, I think this company that works with children should be able to change their names because, as I read, HUD denied them funding. So they went on and changed names and moved all the assets over to this new company. I think you should approve that, the new name, Oakwood Family Resource Center, and allow these children to get the services that they need, the food and the clothing. And, of course, we know their legal parents are living in affordable housing, paying $50 a month. So I approve this measure, and I think that we should check government regulations before we give these contracts out like this so that these children and their families won't be put out on the street or without clothing or food. So I hope this council has that kind of sympathy when we're working with children, especially when children are being sodomized every day by gay homosexuals. So
Ma'am, you got to stick to the issue.
Thank you.
There are no more cards on item 49. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Okay, item passes. Let's move on to item 51.
51 called special for cards.
Mr. Walsh, item 51.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, tweeting at Hollywood Dems. This concerns the installation of the group MANA, M-A-N-A, on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I just want you to know that if you go, we're in favor of it, but if you go to watch this, you are taking your life in your own hands. Because, as you know, Hollywood is full of rapists and alcoholics, psychotics, who are fed by alcohol, which Mr. Rue likes, as long as it's not in a goddamn Korean neighborhood. As long as it's in a white neighborhood,
Mr. Walsh, we got to
fucking shit.
Mr. Walsh, we got to stick to the item. That concludes cards on item 51. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Let's move on to item 48.
48 called special for cards.
Mr. Sachs, item 48. Are you still here? Followed by Mr. Walsh and Patricia McAllister.
Yes, thank you again. Good morning, Arnold Sachs. And this item refers to the disposition and development of former Community Redevelopment Agency assets. That's an oxymoron, isn't it? Redevelopment Agency assets. So, especially considering the action taken yesterday by the county and the city in this homeless initiative, you know, community redevelopment was supposed to provide low-cost homes and low-cost this and housing for low-income families. That never really happened. I mean, I remember $130 million going to the Broad Museum, low-cost family, but these practices that you use for the redevelopment of redevelopment assets, I believe when the agency was disbanded by the governor, the former mayor of L.A., what was his name, Antonio Villaraigosa, mentioned the city was going to lose $900 million in redevelopment funding. Never heard that number again. So what are the parameters for this redevelopment business? You know, there's parcels down by Staples Center that were redevelopment properties that ended up going to AEG as part of the stadium development deal that fell through. But they still got to keep those parcels. Was that part of the redevelopment agency agenda where they got the free parcels? Now they're building hotels on property that was redevelopment agency property that was given to the corporation to build the stadium that wasn't built. And they're milking that one for millions and millions of dollars. And they'll probably get sales tax revenue sent back to them because of the cost of doing business. It's wonderful, these ideals you have for redevelopment agencies.
Mr. Harris Dawson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We ask for support for this motion, which is to transfer this property specifically for development of affordable housing in a neighborhood that's becoming very, very tough to develop affordable units in.
Mr. Harris Dawson. Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, or J. Walsh Confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems. Yes, it's a transfer. Property, it's going to cost, affordable housing costs 3 to 5 times as much when the CRA got involved. And I'd like a little background on the CRA. 1971, I got up in Berkeley and said, I will bury you. and they all laughed when I said I would bury the CRA. But they're goddamn dead.
Mr. Walsh, you need to speak to the item, sir.
Okay, the South Vermont area, this is the development of the former Community Redevelopment Agency. The shit that comes out of my ass has more power than the CRA does now.
Next speaker, Patricia McAllister, on item 48.
Yes, I support this, of course. This is in the African American community. Mr. Price and Harris Dawson, they're African Americans, last time I checked. And we need more. I complained about this because they didn't have enough. Now, this is for 3685 South Vermont Avenue. And the fact that you tore down Bethune Library, which is a very famous African-American woman, you would never tear down a white library like that. And then who said that this is a bad neighborhood to build something in? If you want to go to a bad neighborhood, you go down there on Wilshire, okay, with all these illegals selling these illegal items. I think we need this and we need more. Price only had about, 50 units. I said units coming up in his district, and I was very angry about that. While Cedilio, who represented illegals, have over 500, and you approved his. So the housing is going to illegals. So I support this, and I also want to see some African-American developers. It says here that the Bethune Library will be added to the list of parcels that will be made available through the release of a request for qualifications to select qualified developers. So I worked with contracts in the city of Chicago, so that's my next job here, is to work on these contracts to make sure that African Americans get their fair share of contracts. It's called the minority program, but they put everybody in the minority program, humpbacks, black, blonde people, white people, Chinese, when it's supposed to be African Americans. So I'm going to be visiting and looking at these contracts of these affordable units you'll be building, and I want to make sure you have a fair share of African Americans. Now, when I say African Americans, I don't mean Mexicans. I don't mean walking by. I go by some of these construction contracts, and I speak to some of these construction workers. They don't even speak English. So I know they're illegal. So
you need to speak to the item, ma'am.
This is the guy. We're talking about developers. I want to make sure these developers hire African Americans, and I will be checking into this.
That concludes cards on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Item passes. We're going to move on to Mr. Krikorian for a presentation.
Thank you, Madam President, and good morning, colleagues. As you all know, this Sunday, Los Angeles will be hosting the Los Angeles Marathon. And I know all of you are athletes, but if you were as sedentary as me, you would be astounded that anybody could run 26 miles around our city. So now, pause for a moment and imagine a distance about 100 times that length. The entire width of the Pacific Ocean, 2,400 miles, and imagine rowing it. Well, that's what Pat Hines is about to do in June, when she participates with Liz Dicus, her rowing partner, as part of Team Ocean Hearts. This two-woman rowing team will compete against 15 teams from all over the world in the Great Pacific International Rowing Race from California to Hawaii on June 4th. Their boat, no sails, no engines, no support boats, everything they need for that journey for 40 days will be on board the rowboat with them. These two women are going to row from California to Hawaii. It's a feat of human endurance that mere mortals like I cannot comprehend at all. But this is not the first time that Pat has done things like this, and I hope she'll tell us about some of her other endurance endeavors. Many of you know Pat because of her great work that she does with safe moves in making pedestrian safety and bicycle safety more important, more accessible to our school kids around Los Angeles. she's embarking on this mission in order to help spread the word about women's heart health. And we'll talk about that in a moment. But before we do, why don't we have a brief video about the race. So let's go ahead and put that up so you can see what Pat's about to embark upon. So I was speaking to Pat a moment ago, and she was telling me about swimming the English Channel and doing these other amazing things. And she said, yeah, but this is probably going to be the hardest thing I've ever done. I said, this is probably the hardest thing that any human being has ever done. So, but the reason that she's doing it, and Liz, her rowing partner, are doing it, is to raise, in partnership with the American Heart Association, to raise awareness about the Go Red for Women campaign. As many of you know, February is American Heart Health Month, and this is a great opportunity for us to stop, think about how we can spread the message about heart health. Every 80 seconds in the United States, a woman dies from some form of heart disease. Every 80 seconds. Nearly 43 million women are affected by heart disease and may not even know it, resulting in more than 400,000 deaths each year. So this journey is going to be not only a tremendous inspiration to people around the world as an example of the capability of human endurance and commitment, but it's also going to help save lives by increasing awareness about heart health. So with that, I'd like to present to you the representative of the City of Los Angeles in the Great Pacific Rowing Competition, Pat Hines.
Thank you very much. When you hear the facts of 1 out of 4 women will die of heart disease, it's pretty dramatic. Since we started this endeavor, we have reached out to over 250,000 women. 11 of those women who've reached out to went to get checked and avoided a heart attack through awareness of knowing the dangers of women's heart attacks and stroke. It's interesting. I'm going to be rowing for 40 days. We hope to set the record in 40 days. But knowing what you do for a living, I think we're on par for our endurance and commitment to what we're doing. So I appreciate you taking the time to honor us and to acknowledge Heart Month for the American Heart Association. Thank you very much. Oh, I'd like to introduce my son, Will Rose Hines, and my daughter, Nora Rose Hines.
Please stand to be recognized. Welcome.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Pat, and we want to congratulate you, and on behalf of the City of Los Angeles, in advance, we want to congratulate you on your incredible achievement and present you with this resolution, and thank you for not only all you're doing for our kids every day with Safe Moves, but also what you're doing for women throughout the country with this journey as well. Thank you very much, and congratulations. Thank you. After you.
Congratulations, Mrs. Hine, and good luck to you. We're going to move on to items 29 and 30. We're going to take those up together, Mr. Clerk.
29 and 30 called special for Councilmember Cedillo.
Mr. Cedillo.
Members, this is the end to a work product of over a year plus. We all recall the incredible report that we received from Dr. Lucy Jones, talking to us about the dangers of earthquakes, the impact on our housing and quality of life. Perhaps the greatest threat to affordable housing would be an earthquake today, because it would leave tens of thousands of Angelenos without a place to stay. And as a result of that, we filled the void of leadership and stepped forward to ensure that we have the largest city with a retrofit ordinance moving forward to protect all Angelenos. This applies to all pre-1978 wood frame soft story buildings, and this lays out a program for which they can implement the requirements to make sure that every building is retrofitted in the city of Los Angeles. There's a 7-year limit for them to get the work done. It lays out the program for which it will happen. Of course, as we heard yesterday, it's always the question of cost. Who will pay for this? And unlike San Francisco, we made a commitment to make sure that the tenants, the renters of this city, would not bear the whole burden. In fact, I recall specifically walking into the meeting room, a room filled with incredible tension and stress and anger, because a rumor had spread that the tenants were going to have to bear the whole burden. And we made it very clear at that moment, assured all that that would not be the case. And so after months of work, meetings, negotiations, collaboration, I want to thank HCID, I want to thank the tenants, I want to thank the Coalition for Economic Survival, and I want to thank AGLA, the Apartment Association, because they've come to a settlement in which every single person has agreed. There is a 50-50 agreement. The costs will be shared, and there's a cap, and those costs will not exceed $38. And so we've assured everyone that there'll be shared commitment to this program. We did all that we could last year to make sure that resources were available. Financing is available through the PACE program. We have half a dozen financial institutions prepared to step forward and assist building owners with the resources to accomplish this. And so finally, thank you, City Attorney. We're at the point now that we are ready to move this forward. I'd like to move this forward now. We have public comment from...
No, public comment has been satisfied on both items, Mr. Cedillo?
You know, we were asking the CES, one of the partners to this, was we were asking for them to speak on this matter, if we could give them a...
Are they here?
Here he is.
Is this CES?
Yeah.
Carlos Aguilar?
Yes. Carlos Aguilar, Coalition for Economic Survival. This is a compromise worked out by tenant and landlord groups and the Housing Department working with Council Member Cedillo's office. Frankly, we don't like the idea of tenants who already can't afford their rents to pay $1 more. But without this action, tenants faced paying 100% of landlord's seismic costs and a $75 a month rent increase. A 50-50 cost split with a $38 cap is far better than that. Landlords will still come out ahead with cost recovery upon vacancies, tax write-offs, and property value increases. But tenants will substantially get less of an increase and hopefully a safer home. Thus, we urge approval of this proposal. But we also urge other funding still be sought to help offset landlord costs, thus lowering the pass-through to tenants. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker on item 29, Oscar Mohammed. Are you here, sir?
My name is Oscar Muhammad. Speak for the oppressed, speak for the struggling poor. We should end racism in politics. Political politics do not represent Black America. We should turn our attention, the Black America should turn their attention to the religion of Al-Islam and the religion in the Black leadership.
Mr. Muhammad, you need to speak to the item.
Okay, but the item is about homeless and houseless. We should remove African American from downtown Skid Row. We need more responsibility. We need jobs. We should build more affordable housing. We should have a religious authority in the Black community. The Islamic Muslims should have more authority in directing the life of black people, though, for housing and for education. We need better leadership in America. We need better leadership in Los Angeles. We need accountability in Los Angeles. We should turn the government from the hand of the unrighteous.
Mr. Muhammad, you're not speaking on the item. Item 29 has to do with systemic retrofit.
There's a connection to item 29. It's a connection. It's just not a straight point. We should arrive to some type of connection to make a decision. Where we're going wrong in our situation at. We have fallen so much. We should end immoral government. We should more government bring more inequality.
Mr. Muhammad, I don't mean to cut you off, but you're not speaking on the item, and we need to move on. Thank you. That concludes That concludes cards on both items 29 and 30. Mr. Cedillo, do you want to close?
Yes, members, I ask you to honor the incredible compromise that was put together by all the interested parties. They've worked hard. This represents something that is unique in the experiences here. All parties with contrary views coming together to reach a consensus and to reach an agreement. We should honor that by voting yes and moving this matter forthwith. Ask for an
Thank you, Mr. Cedillo. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Okay, both items pass. Let's move on to
forthwith
for Mr. Cedillo. Mr. O'Farrell.
I would ask that we reconsider item 24 because it actually needs to be continued to April 12th and not 6th. Item 24.
2 votes. Let's vote on reconsideration. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Okay, you want this item to be moved?
Consider it till April 12th.
April 12th, item 24. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Okay, now let's move on to item 33.
Item 33, called special for Councilmember Buscaino.
Mr. Buscaino.
Thank you, Madam President. Call this item for a verbal amendment, and we need to change the verbiage on specifically dealing with the parking lot at 462 West 9th Street. It should read, replace the RFI request for inquiries to an RFP request for proposal. In light of, we've been laser focused on these 3 surface parking lots in downtown San Pedro in our ongoing effort to revitalize the downtown core, in addition to the LA waterfront projects to seek more housing, mixed-use housing in the downtown San Pedro area. So again, we need to replace the RFI with an RFP specifically for the 462 West 9th Street surface parking lot.
Very good, sir.
Okay. Yes. So I just ask that we approve this as amended.
Okay, let's move on. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote on item 33 as amended.
15 ayes.
Public comment has been satisfied on this item, sir. Thank you, sir. Mr. Previn, we've satisfied public comment on item 33. And committee.
It was not a substantial change.
Mr. Previn, I understand, Mr. Kokori. Mr. Previn, can you please sit down? We need to move on. Sir, it wasn't a substantial amendment, and that's... Thank you, Mr. Previn. Mr. Previn, I'm going to have you removed. Please sit down, sir. It's your last warning. We're going to move on to item 50.
Mr. Clerk.
Item 50, called special for cards.
Arnold Sachs, item 50. Followed by Wayne Spindler and Mr. Walsh. Mr. Sachs, you have 1 minute remaining.
Yes, I know. Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, you know what's interesting about this item in particular is this it's a concession agreement, but it's a 1980 agreement that you're discussing about concession rules. 1980, that's 36 years ago. You had a process a couple of years ago where you're going to privatize the zoo. You were going to do all this. You were going to do that. You were going to do a bunch of different stuff to create funding for the city. You never addressed this 1980 agreement. So, I mean, I understand that you're busy with presentations and the like, and the homeless initiative and funding for sidewalks and all other kinds of crap. But if you're going to privatize a zoo, you'd think you'd want to look at an agreement from 1980. And what's in that 1980 agreement? Will that be part of the new labor agreement, you know, the minimum wage?
Thank you, Mr. Sachs. The next speaker is Wayne Spindler, followed by Mr. Walsh. Mr. Wayne Spindler passes on item 50. Let's move on to Mr. Walsh and Mr. Previn.
John Walsh at HollywoodHighlands.org. This is the LA Zoo concessions contract. It's a license to print money. It's a license. There's no competition. If you want a candy bar, you're in the middle of Griffith Park. You have to buy it. The prices are absolutely absurd. The kind of corruption that goes on and who gets the contract. In fact, here in the agenda, it doesn't even tell you who gets the contract. You have to research to find out who gets the damn contract. Everything in L.A. is corrupt. And this, again, this contract for concessions, when you go to the zoo and you spend $9 on Cracker Jacks, remember, $8 goes into a corrupt politician's pocket.
Next speaker is Mr. Previn, followed by Michael Hunt. Item 50, sir.
5-0?
That's correct.
Thank you. It is
that's
Eric
5-0.
Previn from the 2nd District. This is the zoo and their revenue off of the concessions. There are concessions, as we do. Am I on the right item? Dion, you're looking at me like, why is he? Okay, sorry. Anyway, I like the zoo. I'm a regular attendee. I was there recently. As you know, the zoo has two teams, sort of the ordinary city employees and then the VIPs. And I had a great visit, and I got to go in a little early, check out some of the great sites. It's really they've done a really good job of bringing it up to I wouldn't say we're catching the San Diego Zoo yet, but we're nipping at the heels. And I know that you've all been involved in helping with the marketing of that because it is a great way to get people here into the town. And to experience many of the Los Angeles great stuff. And obviously this is a great opportunity to sell some hats. Just 1 second. Yes, Mr. Russell, I will call you back.
Mr. Previn, you cannot take calls when you're in the middle of your
the city attorney needs to be updated about the violation of the Brown Act. Okay. Anyway, thank you. So, getting back to the zoo, I just want to say that these guys have done a great job. The hats I particularly like the ones of the otter. If you've ever been over with the otters, they are so sweet. They have like it's almost like a fishbowl, and the otters swim over and they slide down, and it's fantastic. And then at the end, you can get a little hat. It is about 15 or 18, but look, this is good stuff. And we've got mugs. There's a whole variety of merchandise that is available. And the beauty of it is that the city gets a fair shake once you ask about how much they've been making and what the split is. And I would encourage you to look at those numbers closely. Do not benchmark them with England or Canobie and Allen against the American Golf numbers, because that little pro shop has a very favorable deal. We are the city of Los Angeles. We know how to get our share from our public, as we've seen from your work, but also from ordinary people who want a hat. So let's just make sure we are getting that, and then we can put it back into the city side where the workers are doing a great job of keeping the place in good gear. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Previn. Next speaker, Mr. Hunt.
VoteHunt2016.com. And let me tell you why. This is for the zoos. The candy concession for the zoos. The kids I think that we should lower the price on the candies and Cracker Jacks and everything so it can be affordable for the kids can come. Not only that, the zoos, a part of Los Angeles, should be afforded the affordable act of buying reasonable concessions or snacks at the concession stand. This is why you want to vote Hunt2016.com for Senate so I can lower the prices. The Red Chief Hunt, Madam President, love to see you up there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hunt. That concludes cards on item 50. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Item passes. Mr. Krikorian, let's take up item 52 first.
Thank you very much, Madam President. Budget and Finance considered both items 52 and 53. Item 52 is the recommendation is to pay based on a jury verdict. Item 53 is a settlement proposal. Both of those matters can be considered in open session unless members have questions or concerns, and Budget and Finance recommends approval of the City Attorney's recommendations on both.
So let's take up item 52 and 53. Mr. Clerk?
Very good. For item 52, in the case entitled James Duffy versus City of Los Angeles, there is a recommendation to expend $3,784,597.34 plus accrued interest and settlement. For item 53, in the case entitled Jonathan Christian versus Officer Brett Rutkowski et al., there is a recommendation to expend $2.4 million in settlement.
Can I ask the audience to please stop yelling? Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Okay, both items pass. We're gonna move on to item 1.
Item 1 called special for cards.
First speaker is Mark Barton. Mark Barton, are you here? You're speaking on item 1-0.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Mark Barton, representing Roberto Vasquez at 2324 Carlyle Place, Los Angeles. What we have here is the usual 2.5% interest on late charges to 10% is out the window. The Department of Building and Safety is allowed to charge 250% late charges to property owners. As a result, after the bill goes up to $3,000-$4,000, the city gets ready to put a lien on the property. I think that this is very unreasonable, and I need the city council to provide me with a negotiator to follow up with this issue.
Okay,
Thank
sir.
you.
This is Mr. Cedillo.
Yes, let's continue that for 2 weeks, please.
Continue it for 2 weeks.
Yes,
Sir,
thank
your
you.
item's been continued for 2 weeks.
Senor.
And that brings us to February 24th.
Continuation. I am asking for
Sir,
a negotiator.
that's what's been recommended, and we can have you speak to staff at the ropes.
Okay.
But your item's been continued for 2 weeks.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, sir. The next speaker is Gregory Meadows on item 1B, followed by Martha Meadows on item 1B as well. Do you both want to come up?
Yes. Okay.
You both get 2 minutes.
Okay. Whenever you tell me to begin, I'll begin.
As soon as you see 2, there you go. Good morning.
Okay.
You can
Good-
start, sir.
Good morning. I'm here today to try to explain a few things about my situation with the area that I lived in all of my life. I wish you gentlemen and ladies would listen to me like you listen to other people. I notice a lot of people get up here and nobody paid them any attention, but I have something to say that's very important. Okay, I've lived in this community all my life, over 64 years. The next month I'll be 64 years old. I've helped the elderly, I've helped the young, I've helped kids who have trouble just getting from home to school and school back home, to trying to stay alive. I've done many things for this community. This initially happened to me, this problem I'm having at this property happened to me, I guess back in 2013. I've been sick for over 10 years. I just had a number of different operations on my eyes. You know, I'm doing the best I can. I've lost track of what I wanted to say, but hopefully I can speak a little longer and my wife won't speak as much. But at any rate, I'm just trying to pass information to say there's a lot of things happening in that community right now. Skid Row is in that community right now. My problem happened to me behind cars in my backyard. Well, I've been building cars and doing parades for this city since the mid-'70s. I had no problem all these years, and all of a sudden in 2013 it was a problem for me having cars on my property. And it's a shame. I think it's a shame. I've been charged amounts of money I can't afford to pay. They've doubled, they've tripled. Now they're up to thousands of dollars I can't pay. I just recently went through something on taxes on this property where I was only supposed to be paying $600 a year for taxes. When property values went up, the property was in my mother's name. They charged me thousands of dollars a year for the property. I had to just do everything I could to get
Mr.
money
Meadows,
together.
Mr.
I'm going
Meadows,
to take her time.
Hold,
if you don't
hold,
mind.
no, you can't do that. But hold on for just a second. The council member from that district, Mr. Price.
Why don't we give the resident 30 days to work this out? We'll meet with you and see if we can come to some conclusion.
30 days, sir?
30 days?
We'll meet with each other within 30 days?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, is that acceptable to you? Will I give you some time to work this out, right?
Okay. Okay.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, this item's been continued for 30 days. Mrs. Meadows, do you not want to speak? You're fine? Okay.
And for clarification, that brings us to March 15th.
March 15th, Mr. Meadows.
Madam President, before moving on, there's also been requests from members to continue items 1G, 1M, and most recently 1O to February 24th.
Very well, without objection. Mr. Rood, you were on the queue, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Regarding item 1U, my office has been informed that this property is in compliance, and there has been some issues with the communication. So I would like to move to reduce the lien for item 1U to eliminate the late fees in the amount of $524.24 and instruct the Office of Finance to refund that amount to the property owner.
Very well. Without objection, that's on item 1U.
Reduce the amount to in the amount of, yeah, and refund that amount.
Very good.
Thank you. We're going to move on to the next speaker. Mr. Wayne Spindler, are you still here? Followed by Mr. Walsh and Patricia McAllister on item 1.
What I'm seeing right now on one of the items, 1B, what I'm seeing is so damn fantastic. Current Price, personally, is already talking to his constituent regarding that issue. Not putting any intermediaries, face-to-face contact with his people. I like that. And especially what David Rood just did on 1U was exceptional. Coming forward on the floor, doing the heavy lifting and reducing the lien and getting that money in the people's pockets, because it means a lot. I really, really like that. And I want to see more of this. I want to see more of these councilmen coming forward. Now, Mr. Rood's been working with his people. Mr. Koretz has been working with his people. And Current Price definitely has as well. And it's just fantastic to see this whole thing working out. Anybody with a lien, come here. Come here, fill out a speaker card. Speak your piece, because you can get help. I tell people this. In Van Nuys last week, there was a guy that had one of these. He wasn't quite here at this stage, but already he talked to Councilman Blumenfield. So you can do it. They will work with you. This is something they can work with you because they have plenary power in their districts. This is one of the few, like John Walsh says, when they do something right, they get complimented. And this is not only right, it's morally correct. And it's good for the city. It's good for business. It's good for everybody. Because these are mostly laden with penalties and interest. And it takes away from the person having the money in his pocket to fix the issues. So that money's going to go into each one of these properties to make these properties safer. Thank you very much to those two councilmen.
The next speaker is Mr. Walsh, followed by Patricia McAllister and Michael Hunt.
John Walsh.
Mr. Walsh, you have 1 minute, sir.
Blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org or J. Walsh Confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems. And I substantially agree with the sentiments expressed by the previous speaker, HollywoodHighlands.org.
Next speaker is Ms. Patricia McAllister. You also have 1 minute left, ma'am.
I see we still have a lot of liens. I don't like that. And I see you're starting to list the people with tax liens. Now, if you go to lacity.org, that's the website. That's for people who have these liens and people who want to know. Go to the website and you can view these council chamber meetings. You can view it on the website. But what I don't like, what the city did, the city went on that website and put 35 minutes worth of garbage in front of these meetings. And people don't know. They're sitting there waiting. I mean, got the mayor.
Ma'am, this has nothing to do with the item.
It has a lot to do with this.
You have to stick to item 1.
On that website, there also lists the liens. Let me finish my point, ma'am. Quit interrupting. They also list the liens. Now, the liens are on the website. Then you got 35 minutes of the mayor giving all kind of awards to Lionel Richie and all that crap. We want this website for liens and this meeting only. Keep all that other advertisement. And I'm telling people, scroll past that 35 minutes and find this meeting and start listening to these meetings.
Next speaker is Mr. Hunt.
Is this?
Mr. Hunt, item 1.
Vote2016.com or votehunt2016.com. Just to reduce your liens in the city of Los Angeles, as a U.S. Senator, I will have more of these issues and finding that the city is in compliance, even regarding issuing these liens. So, like I said, votehunt2016.com so we can get down to the bottom of this. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, sir. That concludes cards on item 1. Let's vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Mr. Krikorian?
Madam President, I'd like to ask that item 52 be sent forthwith, please.
Item 52 sent forthwith for Mr. Krikorian. Mr. Clerk, let's move on to public comment. Mr. Arnold Sachs, followed by Sean and Wayne Spindler.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Arnold Sachs, and thank you for your largeness of this 1 minute. Really quick, there was an interesting story in the LA Times on Monday, February 1st. A legal backlash over purged files. It seems these two attorneys are concerned. They filed a lawsuit. They want to file a lawsuit about ex-Councilman Tom LeBon's files that aren't part of the public realm. So it got me thinking about the motions that you don't read into the record. They're not part of the public realm either. You just pass them out here, and you post them on a bulletin board. And after that, they go into the round file. So if you don't read them into the public record, there's no record of them being around, because essentially they never really leave the councilman's domain. Oh, they put on a bulletin board. So what? There's a lot of stuff put in bulletin boards. You can stick old gum on a bulletin board. So the attorneys question these files, but they don't.
Mr. Sachs, your time's up. Thank you. The next speaker is Sean, followed by Wayne Spindler.
Yeah, Sean with the Knights of Columbus. All of the councils got their fish fries with the Knights of Columbus, including Van Nuys. I couldn't bring it up on Friday. Somebody got upset about it. We need to keep the sidewalks clean. We need to clean our storm drains. We're still in the El Nino season. That's it. All the nights are going to have their fish fries, even the Sherman Oaks Council, David Rue. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Spindler, followed by Jose Martinez.
At last Friday's meeting, I was tossed out by one of your councilmen who cannot control his behavior. Vote no on Mitchell Englander for supervisor. The worst fucking choice. Anybody but Englander. He's a scumbag and he does not control his anger. He has very serious anger management issues. He showed that. Watch the tape from Friday's meeting in Van Nuys. This disgusting anger on this man. He is a reserve police officer. He is armed. He is dangerous. He needs to have psychological testing. This man is out of fucking control. This cocksucker Englander is out of control.
Sir, you have to address the entire council, not one single member. In
Porter Ranch, he is letting them be gassed and evicted from their homes. Help those people, Mike Antonovich.
Next speaker is Jose Martinez. Jose Martinez, are you here? He is not in council chambers. Next speaker, Mr. Walsh, followed by Patricia McAllister and Oscar Mohammed.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. Lee Baca, we just found out today, is going to plead guilty to federal charges. Good luck in federal prison, because there's about 300 or 400 big black men with huge dicks that are going to shove them up your fucking ass. Okay, as far as these settlements, $3.78 million to a former Park and Rec for harassment based on race. And my favorite, $2.4 million because of what Officer Brett Rutkowski did. He, in other words, $2.5 million here, millions there, millions of fucking dollars being paid out because of your fucking racist LAPD. And the LA Times doesn't care because all they like to do is suck the mayor's cock.
Mr. Clerk, let's send item 33 forthwith for Mr. Buscaino. Patricia McAllister, followed by Oscar Mohammed.
I want to spend a minute talking about our children. We have an Amber Alert of Joseph Townsend, 34 years old. He is a convicted sex offender, and he lived in a trailer, and he took his monitor off, and he's on the loose. He sodomized a little boy. I've been doing research on this. Cancer of the anus is on the rise in our children. We need to address these gay pedophiles who this nation allowed to adopt children when they get married, to sodomize and rape them. We need to protect our children. They hide under the name of gays when they're pedophiles also. So we need a commission for that. Not just for gays, but the ones who are screwing and abusing our children. Okay? So you tell O'Farrell to get one of those commissions together if they'll let them do that in Hollywood. We need to protect our children, and many of them are in these foster homes being sodomized by these homosexual gay pedophiles.
The next speaker is Oscar Mohammed, followed by Ilona Rios and Michael Hunt.
Yes, I heard one religious leader in the African-American community. He wrote a book about greed and deceit, fear Allah in the Quran, and the message that Muhammad brought for the world. America is a oppressed government and false worship. Pharaoh had corrupt government and false worship and led many men astray. But this is Black History Month. Black history was founded by Carter G. Woodson, historian Carter G. Woodson. He had 4 degrees. He worked for the Superintendent of Education in the Philippines. He also finished Harvard in 1912, the second African-American finished Harvard. We should let education open the doors to freedom. We need more responsibility. And one writer also said that let us unite and try to uplift fallen humanity. We should direct African American attention to the true religion of al-Islam.
The next speaker is Lona Rios, followed by Michael Hunt.
Good morning. I know this is February, but January was National Human Trafficking Awareness Month. And first off, I want to thank the LAPD and LA County Sheriffs for creating sting operations and arresting, through the last few years, hundreds of perpetrators, saving children and taking them out of sex trafficking situations. Children and women are not for sale. And thank you for LAPD's website putting down information about the rescue and recovery of children who are sexually exploited commercially. And I just thought that there should probably be a little bit more coming from LA County. I know in San Bernardino they had a walk against human trafficking last month, and in Riverside County they have facilities having seminars for the public.
Thank you. The next speaker is Michael Hunt, followed by Michael Carrion and Eric Previn.
The Red Chief Hunt. Fuck Chief Charlie Beck. He shoots niggas on the floor. The police commission meeting was saying, fuck the police. I wonder why. They always doing something fucked up. And whoever fucked up the speaker card here for the guests 2 minutes at public speaking for their 2-minute comment is fucked up. Take it from me. They're fucked up. Anytime you take away the public comment from 1 minute to 2 minutes, you're fucked up. And I don't give a fuck who did it or who arranged that shit. They fucked up. 2-minute public comment should be awarded to all citizens that come down here. We the people, we vote for you guys, not vote for you guys to take our time away from us. Fuck that.
Next speaker is Michael Carrion, followed by Eric Previn and Jacqueline Richardson.
Yeah, it's a sad day when this city council has to come to what it's come to. It's pathetic. I feel disgusting to have to come here and have to deal with this bullshit. But people like Mr. Englander, Little Hitler, and everybody else that continues to allow this to go on, all you're doing is adding to it. Mr. Weezer hasn't done anything about a wall. His secretary said construction started a month ago. I've been here for the past 4 weeks. It was a cleanup. So she's a liar just like him. You guys allow this to continue. You pat each other on the back. And then you make faces when people come here and they vocalize themselves. You, as sitting council members, are at fault for this. You guys are responsible for this. City attorney gets all upset. He's part of the problem, going around telling people names. You guys don't hear that part. You should listen to people once in a while.
The next speaker is Eric Previn, followed by Jacqueline Richardson.
Yes, it is Eric Previn from CD2. I would like to simply put into the record that this body on February 3rd botched the fair public hearing on item number 9, which was case file number 151320. And as we saw today, Mr. Buscaino, for no fault of his own, because the city attorney was given a chance, made a technical amendment to item 33, which is 150450, constituting a substantial change, frankly, because changing an RFI to an RFP is substantial, as Mr. Krikorian, once he analyzes it, will conclude. And finally, on December 16th, 2015, Mr. Weezer, under his esteemed effort to push through the Sportsman's Landing, denied public comment on a special meeting, which is a square violation of the Brown Act, and I have filed that with the District Attorney of Los Angeles. There's nothing else I can do. I've been very kind and tried to implore you to do the right thing. This body continues to misunderstand the rule and the law. You can do a committee meeting on a regular meeting, but you can't do a committee meeting on a special meeting. Ask Mr. O'Connell to look more closely at that, and have a nice day. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker is Jacqueline Richardson.
The U.S. Army. How much of the U.S. Army is comprised of immigrants because Americans do not want to go to war? It is a volunteer army now. The Los Angeles Times in the early 2000s showed two half-page articles of immigrants being inducted into the service to get benefits and other items in the early 2000s. One person said he did not obtain benefits that they were promised or that the other people got. Right now, how many of these immigrants are faithful to the United States and not to their own countries?
Thank you, ma'am. That concludes public comment. Mr. Clerk, there has been a request to reconsider item 1L and 1H.
Yes, ma'am.
So
I believe the department would like those matters to be received and filed in as much as the ownership has changed.
let's open the roll for reconsideration. Mr. Rue?
49 and 50 forthwith on behalf of Councilman O'Farrell.
49 forthwith on behalf of Mr. O'Farrell, but let's vote on reconsideration. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, now items 1L and 1H are before us. Let's open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Cool. Mr. Clerk, what's before us?
Madam President, Council has motions for posting and referral.
Posted and referred.
The desk is clear.
Members, any announcements? Seeing none, can we please rise for adjourning motions? Are there any adjourning motions? To my left? Seeing none. To my right? No adjourning motions? Have a great day. Our meeting is adjourned.
You're watching LA City View, Channel 35.
We now join our scheduled program in progress.